What up, everybody? Welcome into Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm Howard Bender. I got Andrew Cooper here bopping along. Hello, Coop. How are you today?
Good. How are you, man? How was the rest of your birthday? The big day.
It was spectacular. I finished out my day of work. I went and I sat and I treated my glaucoma, and the wife made me dinner and dessert and had a little nightcap on top of that afterwards. So it was
There you go, dude.
the
That's how you
perfect
do
day.
it. That's how you do it, man. That's like it's like it's such a dad thing to say, but that's kind of what I want for the rest of my gifts ever. Like to just leave me alone. Leave
Peace
me
and quiet.
pop in the
Peace and
room
quiet.
with like a plate of food every once in a while while I play video games. That would be the
Oh, yeah.
perfect
See, I
day.
don't even need to play the video
I
games.
know.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But listen, nothing better than having like a fantastic birthday only to wake up and have the NFL just go
Right.
and like knock you around a little bit here as I'm like sitting there, right? I just did the DFS week 17 watch list, right? And I had everybody, it was all written up, and I was, not excited about like, certain things, but I was like, ooh, good solid cash game pay down here. Get me some Russell Wilson in there against the Los Angeles Chargers. Their defense is terrible. And I know Cortland Sutton's concussed, and we'll see what happens. But come on, Russell Wilson, right? I mean, he's averaged I don't know, 228 yards per game over the last three. He's got 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, but whoop, rug pulled right out
Rug.
from under you as the Broncos, who turn around and they say that they're starting Jared Stidham this week. They're saying it's because they're 1-3 over their last 4 games. They want to spark this offense, but we know it's all about the almighty dollar. I mean, this dude's owed like $37.5 million vests if he's on the roster March 2024. So in March of next year, if Russell Wilson's still on the roster, they automatically immediately locks him in to another $37.5 million. And the Broncos don't want to pay that, or they just don't want to risk the injury. But either way,
Well, it is the injury. That's why, Howard, because this is the fault of, again, this is the mumbo jumbo part of the CBA, the stuff that needs to be hammered out the next time. They do the CBA like every 10 years. And within 2 years of them signing it, there's always this glitch where we're like, oh man, we're going to have to fix that 8 years from now. Right. In this case, what it is the rule is if he suffers a serious injury, you're not allowed to release players that suffer injuries at that stage, right? So they set up the contract, right? So if he gets a serious injury, they can't just cut him loose. Same thing happened with Derek Carr last year, and they couldn't bench. So Derek Carr got benched for the last 2 games for Jarrett Stidham. So if Jarrett Stidham is on the team and you have a clause like that, just know you're not playing those last 2 games. Jarrett Stidham is like the Grim Reaper to these guys.
The Grim Reaper. He totally is.
He plays 2 games a year. He's like the scab, right? The replacements.
Oh,
he's
man.
He's Shane Falco. He's Shane Falco.
You mean Footsteps Falco?
Footsteps Falco, dude.
He took a beating in that Sugar Bowl, huh?
Shane Falco. I mean, and John pointed out, our QB guru, I mentioned that. He goes, you know what? Stidham wasn't too bad. So I went back and looked. He actually was okay. Definitely a DFS look. So maybe make that little DFS pivot, Howard. Give me a lot cheaper.
Already did it. It's already done. Like that news broke out. Like, I don't know. Like, I think you posted something in our Slack chat about it. And I was like, crap munchers. So I added the Ian Rappaport comment just below mine. I said, all right, this is a story that we're watching. Hence the watch list, everybody. Right? Like I've had somebody like, why you put this guy in the watch list? He's dealing with a concussion right now. Just in case he comes back. That's why it's a watch list. But so I was like, all right, let me add this Ian Rappaport news in here and just say that, before you start building all your lineups around Russell Wilson, maybe this could happen. And then Britt Flynn chimed in. She was like, yep, Schefter just, confirmed it. And I immediately was like, let's take him out and let's put in little Jared Stidham. Because, I mean, listen, super, super cheap, right? And listen, if you're just looking for, and I mean, it's tough to trust a guy like Stidham in cash, but he did perform well last year, reasonably well, that in order to, to pay it down that much, he doesn't really need to do a whole lot to return value. And against the Chargers, I don't see him peeing down his leg and screwing this one up. I think that this is a possibility. The only thing that could really deter me is if I have to, like, as Kev Tompkins points out here in the chat, if I have to rely on Brian Johnson because my boy Cortland Sutton ain't playing.
Right. Yeah. Brandon Johnson and Lil Jordan Humphrey, they're going to be filling in there. That could be pretty rough. But I'll tell you what, the beauty of the watch list is you can get in, and John always tells me to do this, but you can get into these contests, make lineups and reserve lineups on contests that are going to fill. And there's a bunch of people, honestly, that just go and make lineups and never look at them again. And they have Russell Wilson. They have all these guys in that aren't going to play. And you get advantage in those early contests. So, I mean, that's
Broncos country. Let's ride.
That's right, dude. Yeah, but I mean, crazy implication. What do you think happens with Russ? Like, if they were to, he can't be traded. Like, they don't even have picks to throw in there with him to trade him away, because you would have to give up picks for someone to take that contract. I think this team might have to go full bridge year. They might have to cut, eat dead cap, sign no one, so that you can roll cap to the future and just pack it up. And Sean Payton is one of the few guys that's just stubborn enough to do that, right?
It's definitely possible. I would think that as a coach who's, a veteran coach with a veteran offensive coordinator going into year 2 with this system, I think you have to give Russell Wilson that option, right? or you have to at least consider. I don't see them, that's the problem, is I don't know what their dead cap hit is or how much they would have to eat if they were to,
it's a lot. Spoiler, Howard.
It's a lot. All right,
Mr. Unlimited.
But I mean, if you release him, right, and you take that dead cap hit and you just kind of move on for it, does Russell Wilson pick up somewhere else? Does somebody else say, hey, you know what? We'll give this dude a look?
I think he does. And I think that there is, so you have to eat the cap hit, but I think the actual cash money, there's some stipulations that you don't the owner doesn't even actually have to pay the money. I think the new team, the money comes from them. I think that's my understanding on it. So I think maybe they're rooting for that at this point. But
if you take that dead cap hit, if you cut him and you take that dead cap hit, anything that anywhere he goes after that, like, it's brand new contract. It's, that's it. Right. You take the hit. And so you're right. Maybe that's what they do. They just roll over that, and they take that hit. But I mean, if you're the Broncos and you've got guys, I mean, you're going to have to get rid of Judy, and you're going to have to get rid of Sutton. You're just going to have to really legit break it all down and then try and build it back up.
Right. They already released Kareem Jackson, and that's what you do, right? So if you do it, you can cut him and designate it as a post-June 1 cut, right? So what that does, it takes half the money and you eat it in 2024. The other half you eat in 2025. And then what you do is you sign nobody, and you manage to stay under the cap, even with the dead cap, and the money you save from this year
rolls over.
It rolls over. And then you paper over the second half of that with a little bit of that rollover money, and now you're back in business. So next year is when the Broncos end up coming in dead last and getting the first pick in the draft, which is almost exactly what the Miami Dolphins did. Trading away Laramie Tunsil, letting all the wide receivers leave, trading away all their good players essentially, and then just absolutely ghost ship into the ground, starting Preston Williams as wide receiver 1 to get that first pick. So they might do it. I mean, it's not crazy. If you're going to do it all the way.
You might as well. I mean, listen, it's probably, given the situation and given the contract that you handed to Russell Wilson the other year when you made that trade, and what you did to the team, you're forcing yourself. You're forcing your hand into doing it. You're not going to compete against the Chiefs or the Bills, or you're not even going to compete against the Steelers, right? I mean, it's just you're in a bad situation. You have to get better, and if that means just starting over from scratch, it means we're starting over from scratch. That doesn't, listen, the only thing that affects for us now here for your fantasy football championships is that Jared Stidham is going to be the guy under center, which I mean, listen, I don't know. Maybe that does that boost Javonte Williams this week now as like, hey, we're going up against the Chargers. Stidham, let's give a run heavy kind of performance here.
Right. And it's a good matchup for him too. So it could very well be, we just got to make sure Stidham doesn't fall on his face. I wanted to ask you, Howard. So this one, the Russell Wilson one, actually does make sense to me. Him being benched. Me and John and Pemba on the previous show were trying to figure out some of these other benchings and why you do it. So I wanted to get your take on one specifically. Sam Howell has now been benched, and Jacoby Brissett, journeyman quarterback that's not the answer for the future, most likely, is going to start for the Washington Commanders. What are your thoughts? Like, just speculating. What's the mindset? What's the reason for doing that? I'm having trouble comprehending what the deal is.
It doesn't, yeah. From a normal standpoint, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless, of course, you are Washington and you're looking to salvage Sam Howell's reputation right now. Maybe you're thinking about trading him. Maybe you're thinking about, making a move and trying to get a different QB under center. And what you've seen from Sam Howell, I mean, listen, Sam Howell I think John posted it on Twitter, like weeks 8 through 13 or 14, Sam Howell was fantastic. But, in the last couple of weeks, it's been absolute garbage. I don't really know the full reason behind it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I feel like, or, maybe they're just saying, you know what, let's just turtle for the rest of this season. We're not going anywhere. Let's just, Brian Robinson's dealing with a hamstring issue. Let's not push him. Let's just ride out the rest of these last 2 games and just get out of the way.
They've already got their hockey jersey pulled halfway over their head, and they see the fist coming that are the 49ers this week and the Cowboys next week. So they're just going to turtle. They're going down to the ice on this one.
Like, do we just like ruin Sam Howell's confidence by having him get just destroyed by that San Francisco defensive line, which is definitely going to do that to Washington after losing to the Ravens like that? Like, this defense is now like, oh, like you just poked the bear in the zoo kind of a thing.
Yeah, he's already been sacked 60 times this year. 60 times. So, yeah, could be for self-preservation. I think that makes a lot of sense. The other one, another benching coming out to the dismay of the Italian community, Tommy DeVito has now been benched. And we're going to see Tyrod Taylor rest of the way. Tyrod Taylor was the starter, so it's not crazy. Like Tyrod Taylor lost his job to injury, but I know there are people out there. The me and the rest of the Twitter meme community is definitely disappointed.
But yeah, I can imagine that the meme community is disappointed. Those of you who have Darren Waller and or Saquon Barkley, on the other hand, are pretty freaking psyched right now because Tyrod Taylor likes to check it down to Barkley. We know that for a fact. And then you lean on the tight end, and we've seen Tyrod Taylor do that. And given the fact that the Giants this week are playing the Rams, arguably one of the worst teams to try and cover a tight end this entire season, the Tyrod Taylor, actually, that move boosts these guys and their value for this week's matchup. I think it does. So, again, I will always love you, Tommy DeVito. I will always love you, Randy Bullock, even though you're on IR right now. But it's time to move on.
Tommy DeVito, he discovered America. That's what he did. He's an Italian-American hero. And in this house, you pay him some, what is that, Tony Soprano? In this house, he's a hero.
Have you ever seen Chris Rock's routine about Columbus Day? He's like, first and foremost, first of all, like, this is when Rock was first starting out, and he was funny. He was like, first of all, Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. He discovered the West Indies. Second of all, he discovered land that was already inhabited by people. So that's like me going over to your house and discovering your backyard. He like walks in, he plants his land. He's like, hey, yo, I claim this land for fucking Italy, right?
It's true. I mean, it is crazy that we have like definitive evidence that he wasn't even the first, we don't even have to get into that, but he wasn't even the first European to come over. Like, we have artifacts, like it's crazy. But hey, you know what? Shout out Christopher Columbus. Shout out Tommy DeVito.
Pour one out for you there, Tommy.
There you go. Later, Tom.
Baby.
Yep. But yeah, no, I mean, Waller, and especially going up against the Rams, man, which to me, you like for tight end defenses, it's not always so simple. Right? I mean, like, look at the Carolina Panthers. They are, you look at one source, right? Like fantasy points against. The Carolina Panthers are a top 5 defense against the tight end in letting up points. You go over to FTN, our friends over there, and look at DVOA. They say they're a bottom 5 team because they haven't played anybody. You know, you start looking at the personnel, who's in, who's out. It's such a moving landscape that I put them in buckets, right? So for me, the top tier, the top bucket is Bengals and Broncos. Every statistic across the board says those teams are terrible against the tight end. DVOA, points, you name it. Every source says those guys, right? Boom. Next bucket, Rams are in that bucket. Eagles are in that bucket. No matter what source you're looking at, they're at least saying they are mediocre, but a lot of them are saying they're bad. And we've seen it time and time again. So Waller against the Rams with Tyrod Taylor, I'm in. I'm very much in.
Now, in that second bucket, where are we at with the Packers? Because here's the thing, right? We've got a bunch of different scenarios going on with the Vikings this week. First and foremost, Kevin O'Connell is not named a starting quarterback. Nick Mullins throws 4 interceptions, and all of a sudden O'Connell's like, I don't even know if I could go with him. I don't know if they go with Jaron Allen. I don't know if they go back to Josh Dobbs or whatever the case may be. All right, that's going to have a trickle-down effect. Whoever the quarterback is going to have a trickle-down effect on Jefferson, Addison. But I don't think no matter who the quarterback is, I don't think it has a negative impact on the tight end. Now, you might be thinking TJ Hawkinson then. Oh, no. Torn ACL, done for the season. We've already seen Josh Oliver get involved in the passing attack prior to Hawkinson's injury. So now all of a sudden, do we have Josh Oliver as a possibility here while Johnny Munt will stay as the inline blocking tight end?
He will stay in. He will stay in. I've looked at this one extensively, Howard, because it confused me for quite some time. I've figured out the Green Bay Packers equation. And I'll tell you this, especially if Jordan Addison's out, we'll be in on Josh Oliver under certain conditions. Quay Walker and Devondre Campbell, the 2 linebackers there, have missed time sporadically, especially Devondre Campbell. This past week, Devondre Campbell missed the game. When both those guys are playing, they crush tight end. They're actually very good against tight ends. When Isaiah McDuffie comes in the game, he is more of a tackling guy and not a great coverage guy. That's when this team gets picked on. So if either one of those guys misses, which Devondre Campbell, very likely he could miss again, then it's absolutely a DFS play. Maybe a little bit more dangerous in your fantasy championships, but in DFS, he will. If one of those guys is out, he'll be in the write-up this week. Sure.
Well, what about also the fact that Jair Alexander was just put on the restricted suspended list by the Packers?
Crazy,
right? So now all of a sudden, like, you're going to be dealing with Justin Jefferson. So safety help is going to have to float to whatever side of the field Justin Jefferson is on, which to me also kind of opens things up when you take away that safety. Even though Campbell and Walker are good in coverage of underneath routes, you just let them release and get behind the linebackers. And the safeties are like sitting there. They're like KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. And then there's little Joshy Oliver being like, oh yeah, thank you.
It's entirely possible. He'll be in the write-up. There's no question because he's going to be cheap. And the Jair Alexander thing is crazy, huh? Did you see? I'm hearing different details on it, but Jair himself admitted that he was not a captain for the game. So when I first heard it, I was like, oh, they're going to suspend him for messing up the coin toss? That's not that big a deal. It's not. My buddy in high school messed it up way worse than he did. The other team said they were going to defer, and he said we wanted to kick. We had to kick both halves. So at least he didn't pull that one, right? But apparently what happened, Howard, is he wasn't a captain for the game at all. And he's from Charlotte. And he just said, oh, you know what? Like, I got a bunch of people here watching the game.
I'm going to go walk out there.
I'll be captain today. You know what I mean? And they were like, you know what? We cannot have people doing that. So I don't know. They got to get their act together over there. But it's good for the passing game to have as many of those guys out as possible because it shifts everybody over one. So the guy that used to be in the slot now moving outside, right? So feeling good about it.
Skinny McKinney in the chat says, "Watch the video, you'll be amazed." I'm gonna have to go back and dig that up and rewatch it. Shout out to Skinny McKinney. Shout out to Britt Flynn, Rex Timotheus, Jared Moore's in the house here, Adam Baird in the house as well.
Toronto Dave, Matt A.
Matt
what up,
A.
everybody? Fatty, of course, dude. The regulars, Kev Tompkins, dude. Robert Flores.
Let's check out the chat questions here for a little bit. Let's check out the chat questions for a little bit. There's plenty of other news that we're going to want to take a look at here throughout. And obviously, you know, we're going to talk about some injuries that we're monitoring, but we always want to make sure that those of you who are here in the chat get that attention that you need, right? So, you ready, Coop?
I'm ready, baby.
By the way, you know, you keep mentioning over and over again how like Skinny and his wife sent you those little the ginger snaps and everything. Not only did I get the ginger snaps, but let me just show you also that this shirt here, right? Carolina Disco Turkeys. It's a minor league baseball team.
Wow. Right? Look at that.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
All right. Skinny sent me this shirt, so I'm gonna one up you right there with your ginger snaps.
What? Skinny,
I see your ginger snaps, and I raise you one disco turkey.
Now I got to go back and check my.
Did you have any idea that people from the South refer to peacocks as disco turkeys?
I've never heard such.
I was on the phone with Skinny. We were chatting about it, and he was like, and he said something. He's like, yeah. You know, we out in the forest, man, you're gonna see one of them disco turkeys. I was like, oh, now it makes sense to me. I get it now.
Why even have the word peacock if we have disco turkey?
Thank you. That's legit my philosophy about that as well.
Yeah. Another one is, why do we have the word jet ski when motorcycle was sitting right there?
I mean, legit have to ask you if you came up with that.
No. I wish I did.
Like, where does that come from? That's brilliant.
I forget where it even came from, but motorcycle is just
why
too
are we
perfect.
using jet ski when motorcycle was so readily available?
I don't think I'm quite familiar with that phrase.
I don't either, but I'm totally using that from now on. Any wave runner or jet ski, I will be referring to as a motorcycle.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, let's get to the chat.
Let's hit the chat. Double A in there says half point PPR finals time. Bench 1. Stephon Diggs, Ezekiel Elliott, or Rashee Rice.
Wow. That's crazy talk. I mean, if personally, when this stuff happens to me, I kind of root for Ramondre to play, and then your decision's made. You start Diggs and Rice, right? If Ramondre's out, though, you might actually be benching Stephon Diggs. Is that crazy, Howard? He has not been good.
It is crazy. I mean, there's been so much made out of the fact, and I was even talking about it. Over the last 9 games, Stephon Diggs has averaged 50 receiving yards per game, and he's gotten into the end zone 3 times. Three times in those 9 games.
Yeah.
So the production is not even remotely where it's supposed to be.
No, he was so good early in the year.
Talk to me though about like the coverage, like the defensive coverage. You know, one of the things that the Patriots, if you look at DVOA, the Patriots do not handle the slot well. And Stephon Diggs takes a decent number of snaps out of the slot. So, you know, can the Patriots cover him? Can the Bills stop Zeke on the run? But then you've got Rashee Rice, who I just put in there. I was like, Rashee Rice could very well be like just a lock for any cash game in DFS. A lock as your wide receiver 3. The guy's been averaging like, you know, I think it's like 6 or 7 catches for 70 yards per game over the last like 5 or 6 games. Like, I mean, he's just been such a model of consistency on a team that so desperately needs a consistent wide receiver. So
last 5 games for Rice, 10 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, 12 targets. I mean, It's difficult to bench that guy. Diggs started off this year 500+ yard games out of the first 6 games. And since that, he has not cracked. He had 1 game with 86 like 7 weeks ago, 6-7 weeks ago, has not cracked the 100, not even close. So I don't know, man. I think you might actually be benching Stephon Diggs, as crazy as that is. Last time they played the Patriots, he had 6 for 58 and a touchdown, which, you know, the touchdown's nice, but 6 for 58, it's fine, right?
Yeah, it's very mundane. So just, you know, let's wait and see what happens here. Fortunately, none of these guys play until Sunday. So you can sit there and wait and see if Ramondre Stevenson does come back. Zeke is the easy bench there. So stand by on that one. MG403 says standard league, Austin Eckler, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Gus Edwards needs 3 out of these. So Eckler, Monty, Singletary, and Gus Edwards, you got to bench 1.
Yeah, I honestly might be benching
Eckler.
Might be. I can't be Eckler. He had better. It is funny to say that, but you can't be Eckler. He had a better game last week. He has a good matchup this week against the Broncos. Might be the Gus bus that you're benching here. I know he got in the end zone again, but he really is just empty touchdowns. I think I would. Singletary's got the Titans, which is not a good matchup, but he's getting all the work.
He's getting all the work, and he's getting the passing work as well. Monty gets into the end zone too. Yeah, probably. Listen, me personally, I mean, it's a standard league, so Eckler catching any passes doesn't mean anything. And the question is he going to run it between the tackles enough to really make any kind of an impact? So I'm gonna, you know what, man, I'm gonna vote for sitting Eckler because I'm a son of a bitch. And I wrote the article before the season started telling you to fade him anyway. So
shouldn't have him. Yeah.
It's your own fault for having Eckler on your roster right now.
So Singletary played the Titans 2 weeks ago, the week before last, and he had 170 yards from scrimmage.
Well, I didn't say to bench him.
Yeah. So I'm just going through it. I don't know. I think I would bench Gus, but it's not crazy to bench Eckler.
We're a little on the split side here. Come hit us up. Again tomorrow. We're going to be doing this show again tomorrow. So come hit us with that question. Maybe some news will break and we'll hear something. He also wants to know, would you bench Devontae Adams and play Rashid Shaheed? I'm not.
No, I can't. I know Adams. The teams where I have Devontae Adams are not in the championship. I'll tell you that because he put up less than a point last week, but I'm still going with Adams. He just has he has a good matchup, better upside.
He's got better upside. He's got a good matchup. Yes, last week was a terrible week for him, but the couple of weeks before that, solid effort. And this dude sees double-digit targets. You can't just, look at last week and be like, oh, well, he won't catch for 4 yards and then bench him. It doesn't work like that. Good afternoon, Rex.
He had L'Jarius Sneed on him all day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Rex says, thank you for a great season. You're welcome, Rex. Thank you for being here day in, day out, man. We appreciate that. Robert Flores. Ooh, little shout outs here. A little happy belated birthday to me. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Britt, Kev, Rex, more Britt, more Kev,
more birthday.
Jared Stidham. He sucks. Fatty McFats. Afternoon. Rex doing a little bragging here, made 7 out of 9 playoffs, only made it to 2 championship matches, but compared to making it to none last year, it's the first time. Listen, I played in 38 leagues this year. I've been 2 championships this year.
Right.
Shit happens.
The real measure, the real measure of how good of a fantasy player you are is making the playoffs. It's making the playoffs because anything can happen in 1 week. So if you're consistently making the playoffs and putting yourself in the Plinko machine that is fantasy football playoffs, then you're a good player. So 7 of 9 is good, and winning any one championship is good.
Britt Flynn dropping the info here. Cowboys linebacker Rashaan Evans released because he was arrested for weed possession in Frisco. Is weed not legal down in Texas? That's a shame.
What the
You want to get high?
I would think that a state like Texas, I'd really want to just be high if I was going to be in Texas at all.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's disappointing for the Cowboys there. Here, Matt A. Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy?
Yeah, so we have to get your answer on this because we got this question last show, Howard. We both weighed in. That's why we told Maddie to check in with you. So what are your thoughts on that?
So Dak going up against, was it Miami this week?
No, Miami's at the Ravens. It's the Dak has Miami has the Ravens.
Yeah,
and
Dallas
Dak has
Detroit.
the Lions. Yeah.
All right, so Dallas. Here we go. Dallas at home against Detroit. That is actually, listen, anytime you have to look at the Cowboys passing attack for a home game. They're undefeated at home, right? I think they're like 7-0 at home, 6-1 against the spread at home. So, I really like that. Here's the thing with Brock Purdy. It has nothing to do with what happened to him last week. It has everything to do with the fact that, if he did get shaken up and they held him out to be precautionary, I don't see why they wouldn't just unleash McCaffrey on the Washington Commanders. And not even just that, maybe Jordan Mason. I mean, the Commanders game, this definitely, like, I could see Brock Purdy having a good game here. Maybe throws for like 230 and 2 touchdowns. But I think Dak at home in a potential shootout with the Lions, I think it's a 53.5 over under in this game. I would probably just take Dak on the Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, like you were talking about, so like assuming you have Jalen Hurts versus the Cardinals ranked 1, like most people do, we're talking about QB2 versus 3 this week, because the implied point totals for these teams are both like 30. You know what I mean? Like, so you can't really go wrong. This is one where there's no wrong answer, but there inevitably will be a right answer. But I agree with Howard that I said Dak and John said Purdy. That's why the question's coming back.
Okay. Well, I'm with you on Dak then. So we're both going against the QB whisper. I don't even know if that's good business.
It's dangerous. Yeah, it's a dangerous game.
We'll rethink about that.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing is, like, the difference is with a 13.5 point spread, and who Washington is, and I know you can throw on them and teams do, but the way Pollard's playing, there's no way the Cowboys just, in my opinion, just steamroll the Lions and run it all day. Whereas, as you pointed out with McCaffrey, that's a distinct possibility. So I just feel like Dak he's good floor, high ceiling.
Yes. Good floor, high ceiling. Agreed completely. Yep. I mean, listen, you've got a good floor and a high ceiling with Purdy as well. However, again, you're in a much more Dallas versus Detroit. These teams are still vying for the number 1 seed overall, home field advantage in the playoffs. Got to see what the Eagles still do. Got to see what the Niners still do. Dallas and Detroit. This game it's a very strong playoff potential matchup here. And, I think both teams want to tilt the advantage in their direction.
The good news, Matt, is that your opponent can't start either of those guys against you because you got them both. Yeah.
Adam Baird says we've helped him guide him to a fantasy championship here for mucho dinero. Yes, I know. I was just making a joke. He wants to know Shane Falco or Browning. So I'm going to assume that's Flacco against the Jets versus Jake Browning going up against the Chiefs. Neither is a great matchup here at all.
No, it's not. And I think that, like, when I look at the statistics for these guys, they're actually not even that far off. But the difference for me is that Browning without Chase is just not as appealing to me. If Jamar Chase is playing, it'd be a lot easier for me. But I think I'm going to go with Flacco, even against the Jets. All
right. There you go. I just really... I'd probably go Shane Falco, Joey Flacco against the Jets as well.
Yeah.
Tougher matchup. He's got to focus on the middle of the field. He's got to focus on the short passing game here against the Jets. Take Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed kind of out of the equation a little bit, but revenge game narrative here for Joey Flacco. You can throw that in there.
The good news is that now that snow is extinct, you don't have to really worry about weather or anything at these New York games or any of this. Right? It's like, I haven't seen any snow. It's nice out here.
So he's also got a flex play here. Demarcus Robinson, Christian Watson, Gabe Davis, Zamir White, assuming Jacobs doesn't play. All right. So if Jacobs is out, then Zamir White is the no-brainer.
Easily. Yep. He looks good. I can't trust Gabe Davis, dude. No chance. He's got a handful of games.
Can't trust Christian Watson either with that hamstring.
No, and Demarcus Robinson looks fine. So I think I would go Demarcus. Gabe Davis has more games with no catches than he does with catches of his last like 5 or 6 games.
Yeah. I would say White if Jacobs is out, and if not, then Demarcus Robinson definitely I'd pivot there.
Yep.
I like it. All right, more dead cap hit, more Wilson stuff. Screw him. Britt so bad wanted to. You gotta say it probably so bad. Wanted to put Josh Oliver in the waiver wire article, but couldn't do it without knowing who the quarter. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Britt. It's okay. You can do whatever you want. This is America.
True. Thanks to Tommy DeVito for discovering it.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Britt Flint says, I need help because I'm tilting on quarterback. I lost Herbert and had Goff as my backup, but he's facing the Cowboys, and I'm afraid the Lions are just going to run all over them. I picked up Flacco. I'll tell you what.
Goff.
Here's the funny thing. I actually dropped Jared Goff as well because he's playing the Cowboys, because I don't like Goff on the road, and I don't like that pass rush. I had the benefit of being able to pick up Stafford. Although, could this be a game where Kyron Williams goes off and, the Giants defense suddenly makes Stafford look like an idiot? But Britt is now sitting here with Goff versus Flacco. Where are you?
I'm going Goff, man. I can't go Flacco against the Jets. Flacco against anybody else, I might do it, but I just can't. I'm going to go Goff. Goff's going to be just fine. High over, under. He'll be all right.
And what about Goff versus Stafford? Which way would you go?
I'm Stafford. Yeah. Stafford is great spot this week against the Giants. I mean, he's been cruising, and the Giants starting rookie corners, whole deal. So yeah, I like that.
All right. Double A says, who's the best person to follow for kicker matchups?
That would be
at Lindellians.
Yes, Linda, LINDLLIONS. She puts in a lot of work. She puts in a ton of work. There's a few other guys. Obviously, Denny Carter takes it pretty seriously. But Linda, that's where we go.
Yes, I agree. And I'm going to pop that right here into the chat so that people can say kicker follow. Just make sure we get her Twitter handle in there properly. And there it is. And there it is. All right, let's see. Disco Turkey Talk. Born and raised in Mississippi. I've never heard of Disco Turkey. Motorcycles blowing Skinny's mind there.
I don't even remember where I heard it, dude. But it's all I can think of when I see those puppies now. The motorcycle.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Hotter than fish grease. Yeah, that was an old one that you guys, Britt.
That's a throwback, dude. I still don't quite understand that one.
Trash Panda from Skinny. Yeah, we know that's raccoon.
That's a good one.
Toronto Dave says PPR, Rashid Shaheed or Jalen Warren.
I think I would go, honestly, in PPR. I think I'm gonna go Shaheed, just because he's led the team in routes run. Even with Olave, he's been up there with MT out. In all the games with Michael Thomas out, he's had a 20% target share or greater in every one of those games. So I'm giving myself a chance at upside with Shaheed.
All right, Brad Testerman in the house here. Thanks for everything this year. You're welcome, Brad. One more question here. Look at that. Starters, JJ, Justin Jefferson and Olave, Gibbs and Bijan. Yes, I agree with that. Who should I start in the flex between DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker III, or Saquon Barkley?
Wow. DK has been so good lately. I have a hard time benching him, but Kenneth Walker is also in a good spot this week as well, going up against the Steelers. And then Saquon's got the Tyrod Taylor boost. I think I would still go DK. What do you think, Howard?
Yeah, I'd probably go DK here as well.
Yeah, he's been great.
I agree. Diggs or DK or Pittman? I think we're both on DK here.
Yeah, DK.
Yeah. Yep. All right. That's the rest of Matt's group there. We see it. Angie Hatfield says, Howard, curious, which state would you not want to be high in? It's a good question.
That's a good question. Probably also still Texas. Even though if you were in Texas, you want to be high, but it's all hot down there.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single state where I don't want to be high. I'm not going to lie. Yes, indeed. Fatty McFat says, if Trevor Lawrence is out, who do I choose out of Aiden O'Connell, Mason Rudolph, or Trevor Siemian? Or do I jump off a cliff? It's a dynasty league.
Yeah, might be that last one. I feel like Aiden O'Connell gives you the best bet. Like, at least we've seen him have a good game. Then we saw him have a game that with the defensive touchdowns, he didn't have to do anything, but he also didn't lose the game. So I think it's O'Connell right now.
He's also throwing Bailey Zappi into the fray. Still O'Connell. Here we go. More Trash Panda talk. Oh yeah, here we go. Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, or Matthew Stafford. Which one do you bench?
Wow.
Red velvet cupcake on the just a regular cake, a red velvet cake on the
there's
line.
a big
Cream
red
cheese
velvet
frosting?
cake.
Probably.
Gotta be, dude. Cream cheese frosting on carrot cake. That is
that's
yum 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 yum.
That's top tier, dude.
I think out of this trio here, I'm benching Stafford. Because at any point Kyron Williams could just take over and Stafford doesn't need to throw against the Giants.
Yep, I'm with you.
Which defense do you like? Colts, Ravens, or Broncos?
I don't really want to start the Ravens against Miami, even with Miami kind of banged up. I think I would start the Broncos against the Chargers. Easton Stick. Yeah, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with it. Dude. Easton Stink. Get it going. Broncos in there.
What did I say on Twitter? Easton stick it to the Eckler owners when he poached it. Touchdown. Thank you very much. I'll play the room all evening. Try the beat.
That's right.
Geno or Mullins in San Francisco? Jeez.
I actually don't.
QB1 and Komet and McBride in the same league.
I actually don't at all mind Geno. So he got hurt and missed the game, but if you really go back and take the last like 6 or so weeks, which I did, and look at points per game, Geno hasn't been bad. He's averaging like 19 points a game. It's like he's a top 10 quarterback over that span. So yeah. Geno's fine. He just last year he was so good that we've kind of taken it too far with our opinion of where Geno is.
Shout out to Charlene Erickson, by the way. She was in my Scott. Well, she wasn't in my Scott Fishbowl division, but she was at the live draft. She was in the Round Table Pizza division with Angie, actually.
Shout out.
Look at that. SF in the house. Appreciate you guys joining us here. Start 2. Oh, wait. Actually, Komet or McBride. She's got that same league, same matchup.
McBride.
I gotta go McBride.
Yeah, in any sort of PPR, McBride is locked in at tight end 2. And even in standard, like maybe you have Kittle ahead, maybe you have Laporte ahead, but he's not outside the top 5. Komet is also, he left the game with a little bit of a knee tweak. So Komet is, for me, a guy where I look around at that middle of the pack group and I say, if I have any option that doesn't have a knee issue going on, I'm going to start that guy instead.
All right. Start 2 out of Nico Collins, Demarcus Robinson, Rashid Shaheed, Gerald Everett.
Yeah, so Gerald Everett, he even with Donald Parham out, he still only played like 70% of the snaps. I don't
8 targets per game the last 3 straight games.
For Everett? Yeah,
8
including against these Broncos. But he's still just not.
It's not great. Player. Yeah, it's definitely not great.
I'm going Nico Collins and I'm going Rashid Shaheed. Go big. Give yourself a chance at upside.
Yeah. Everett to me is, you know what, Everett's like a good cash game DFS tight end because you're paying down and you know what you're getting out of him. You're probably getting 5 or 6 catches for like 40 to 50 yards. He always takes every single week. You can count on him catching a screen and looking like he's going to take it for like 30, 40 yards and then getting tackled by the very first player he runs into. But he always gets like 7 or 8 or 9 yards on that play. You can jot that play down every week. Gerald Everett screen for like 9 yards. Well, I'm in on Collins and Shaheed for you as well. What about defense? Rams, Raiders, Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens, I don't want to start them against the I answered.
Well, I mean, how do you not start the Raiders defense? Come on, 4 defensive touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. They've been amazing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens did. I will say for the Ravens, they did just beat up on a team that runs this same exact offense, right?
So why wouldn't you go with the Ravens there? I know Miami could put points on them, but you know what? So could San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Go with the better defense in a vacuum is the Ravens. Go with the Ravens.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, because the Giants are going to get Tyrod Taylor back. They're not going to take a lot of risks in this offense. So I don't know what you're looking for as far like what you're looking at for like defensive turnovers. receivers. Like that's a big thing for me. And then the Raiders in this matchup there for them. I mean, they're it's the Colts. It's Gardner Minshew. I don't know. It's not really. I mean, they could go run centric as well.
Yeah, but the Colts have been good. They're a fine team. They're a playoff team. Every team in the league is 8-7 or 7 or 8, right? Like everyone's a playoff team.
All right. Before we wrap up the chat here, a couple of more questions that we're going to get to. I just want to shout out to our sponsors at Underdog Fantasy, right? And let everybody know that you should be playing pick'em contests over at Underdog Fantasy. You get the QR code right here on the screen. If you don't like zapping QR codes, just go over to fantasyalarm.com/underdog. Use the promo code ALARM. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. Haven't seen a featured player yet, so be on the lookout for that. Yesterday, Coop and I gave you a couple of players to look at here. We're going to give you 2 more picks today. Coop, where are you going to start?
Yeah, so I've got one here. And again, we talk about outs a lot in this situation. I'm going to go with Nick Mullins, 251.5 passing yards. And I'm going to say lower for a number of reasons. One is because I truly don't believe that he's going to throw for more than 251 yards without TJ Hawkinson, without Jordan Addison. The other is I don't really love the matchup for them going up against Green Bay, even if Jair Alexander is going to be out because he made himself honorary captain for some reason when he was playing Charlotte. And the other is that we don't know who's going to start here, which means that even if he starts, there's a question of whether he could get benched or not, right? And the rules over at Underdog say that if a player is active and plays at least 1 snap, then the bet is legit. If he doesn't play any snaps or he's completely inactive, then it's void. That doesn't cost you anything. It just means it's nothing. But if he goes out there and gets benched, or if he doesn't start and then he comes off the bench to play, then you hit the bet. So I'm going to go ahead and say lower on the 251.5 for Nick Mullins.
I like it. I like it a lot. I was actually kind of eyeballing something similar with that as well. So I'll pivot over I'll go to the wide receiver. I'll go to some place where we've been all too comfortable. Chris Godwin, who's looked absolutely fantastic over the last couple of weeks. He's starting to get a little bit more active in there. Takes the majority of his snaps out of the slot. Alontae Taylor. Oh, there it is. But I mean, it's not even just that. It's not even just Alontae Taylor. It's the fact that Mike Evans is no Marshawn Lattimore. So you don't have the Evans and Lattimore brawl that happens. So what you're going to have to do is, like, I guess if Adebo is going to be on Evans for the most part, maybe there's some safety help floated there. It's going to leave a lot of one-on-one coverage here for Chris Godwin. I like the 61.5 receiving yards. I actually, to be honest with you, I would prefer to see what his receptions prop is and maybe take his receptions prop. But for the time being right now here on Underdog, they've only got his receiving yards listed. And I will say higher than 61.5.
Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, the reality with Godwin is that if you look back, he was dealing with a bunch of different injuries. He had a neck issue, a knee issue. I believe early on he had a finger issue. And now that he's healthy, man, he's looked like himself, right? There was elbow soreness, right? Neck soreness, elbow soreness. So Godwin's back, baby, back on the menu.
Godwin is back. So there you go. Nick Mullins lower than 251.5 passing yards. Chris Godwin higher than 61.5 receiving yards. We made some picks yesterday. Again, you can just go back and look at yesterday's episode on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube page where you're watching us right now, where you're hitting the like button. Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And we'll give you a couple more picks tomorrow on the show as well. Again, head on over to Underdog Fantasy, the QR code, which is right there again. And or you can just go to fantasyalarm.com/underdog and use that promo code ALARM for an instant match deposit up to $100. Let's get back to the chat here, Coop. Couple of more questions kind of floating in here. Rex Timotheus says he's benching Waller. Need one to replace Joshua Palmer, Parker Washington, Jonathan Mingo, or Zamir White. Well, right off the bat, it's White if Jacobs is out.
If Jacobs is out. If Jacobs is playing, I would go ahead and unbench Waller and play him. But if you want to bench Waller, I guess you would go with Josh Palmer, right? With the Easton stick. I mean, he's your best bet. Devontae Parker, man, has been okay. Parker Washington is not really a full-time player. And then, I mean, I'm not going to start Mingo. So personally, I'm going to just start Waller. But if you really are opposed to Waller, Rex, then I guess Palmer. Yeah. But first and foremost, Zamir White with no Jacobs is locked in.
Should I be terrified to start Tua if Murray is not able to play in full this week?
Which Murray are we talking about? Are we talking about Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray?
I would start Tua over Kyler Murray. And I'm a Kyler Murray guy. I'm probably going to start Kyler Murray in a deep league where I have him, but I'm still going to start Tua over Kyler, even against the Ravens.
Yep, I agree. Especially Tyreek Hill. I mean, we've seen the Ravens secondary give up, like,
right,
pass, receiving yards. We've seen it. Like a couple of weeks ago, the Rams did it.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see. Major injury concerns with this one. So I'm just who plays? Pacheco, Stevenson, or Javonte Williams? Well, I mean, Pacheco unlikely to be cleared from concussion protocol. Stevenson, we have no idea if he's even going to be back, and he'll share time with our good friend Ezekiel Elliott still. Javonte Williams against the Chargers. Got a new quarterback who likes to check it down. Joe Lombardi loves those passes to the running back. I'm in on Javonte.
I'm in on Javonte, and I'm in on Javonte over Stevenson if Stevenson plays too. If Pacheco plays, which he's probably not going to, then you'd have more of a question. But you're probably going to be starting Javonte, Rex.
Yeah. Shout out to Howard Bender, who's in 2 championship games and picked up Clyde Edwards-Helaire off of waivers in both.
Oh, look out now. Oh, man. With Clyde Edwards-Helaire this week, if no Pacheco and no Jerick McKinnon,
I'd flex right now, but I want to rip this sweatshirt.
Don't want to rip your new peacock shirt, your new disco turkey shirt.
No, it's old actually. It's new. It's new looking because I haven't been able to fit into it in like the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's the.
I have been lifting weights and doing cocaine all day.
I have not been lifting weights. What?
Next question.
Listen, I'll say this. There you go, Coop. You want to know something like birthday? Like, shout out to everybody out there who showered me with some amazing birthday love yesterday. I got all these pictures posted of me on Twitter, and I literally just went to my wife and I just started scrolling down. And I was like, look at these. How the hell do you let me get as fat as you let me get?
It really helps you appreciate the diet, the Slim Howard.
Oh my God, unbelievably.
I got a diet coming up soon. Monday, January 1st is when our diet contest, the Big Chungus Challenge, kicks off. So I've won it in the past. I'm definitely primed up to win.
You're
this
in
year.
Good shape though, so I don't even know.
That's right.
Oh, that's me.
Burns has it right. I've been putting it on. So Big Chungus Challenge coming up, baby. Let's go.
Final question for a championship here from Rex Timotheus. Waller likely or Logan Thomas? It's Waller for us.
Ooh, no. I mean,
shit.
I currently have likely ahead against Miami.
Do you?
I do. I'm just a little worried that Waller's not going to be a full-time guy, but it's very close. It's very close.
I don't hate that. I definitely don't hate that. The Ravens, the matchup for them against Miami is a solid matchup. Miami's mid-level at best against the tight end.
Exactly. Yeah, mid to plus. But you're right. I have them back to back, but I'm going likely.
All right, he's going likely. I'm still leaning Waller, but we'll talk.
I think you can't. I feel like they're so very close. We both agree Logan Thomas out of the question.
Oh, Charlene's got a nice one here. She's got McBride and Kelsey in another league. Do I pop one of those in the flex over Zay Flowers, Brandon Ayuk, or Ty Chandler? Chandler gets the Packers on Sunday Night Football, week run D. Ayuk going up against the Commanders' terrible secondary, and Flowers in a potential shootout here with the Dolphins.
No, I think you got to start Kelsey against the Bengals is just too good of a matchup. And then I start Brandon Ayuk against Washington. I think you got to have McBride on the bench. I think it's McBride, very good full PPR player, but he's not really rattling off 100-yard games. So you got to go for upside. Kelsey and Ayuk.
Famous last words right there. Famous last words.
Hurts.
JB Barry says Blaze or Lufa, half-point PPR.
Right now, got to go Blaze this season, but Lufa, I mean, Dynasty really got to stash Lufa. But I think Blaze has a lot more tricks right now. Your dogs are definitely smarter than Lufa is at this stage. But you know, it's getting closer, JB. It's getting closer.
The injury of Waller is a concern. Honestly, what injury does he have now? I didn't see an injury designation.
Heck, you talking about? Quit scaring us.
What are you talking about here, Rex? Oh yeah, Darren Waller listed officially as questionable with a knee issue.
All right, cut that out.
Well, there you go. That tilts it over to likely a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Why? He better stop that. He better practice. Was he limited or do not practice? He was
limited at Wednesday's walkthrough, but it was just a walkthrough.
It's enough to be a tiebreaker in that range, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Pollard, Achane, Montgomery need 2.
Wow. Pollard has been pretty rough, but he's the only full-time guy of that crew. So I think I am going to start Pollard, and then it's between Achane and Monty. Howard, what do you think?
I think I'm leaning Monty because I know that you can run on Dallas.
Yeah. Leonard Hankins, he's out for the foreseeable future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did not practice again this week with the ankle. I think they're planning on him missing a couple games at least. So yeah, go with Achane on the bench.
All right. Laporta or Jawan Johnson, not Jefferson.
Laporta. It's Laporta. Jefferson, he's been surviving on touchdowns. He doesn't have a single game with 50 yards this year. And I'm not doing it with Jawan.
Yeah, Laporta for me as well. Metcalf or Swift at flex?
Metcalf. Yeah.
Yep.
It's been hot.
Pow.
Metcalf.
And look at that. There you go. We've cleared the deck. The questions are over. We thank everybody for tuning in here over at Alarm Fantasy Football. Coop and I will again be here tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. So you can throw down the questions again for us. Maybe we get some extra news, some notes, things like that. But in the meantime, we thank everybody for tuning in. We thank Brian Burns, our illustrious producer. And for Andrew Cooper, I'm Howard Bender. This has been Alarm Fantasy Football. We'll catch you next time.
Those turd nuggets.